All right, hi guys. I'm going to show you how to do this lab and basically show you what the students were doing in the classroom. So you can see there's 3 blocks on the desk here. All 3 blocks are made out of the same material. They're just different sizes. And therefore the hypothesis, which is right there in the middle, you basically have to tell me, what do you think is true about the density of all 3 blocks? If they're made out of the same material, what is true about their density? So just make a prediction there. Now, you'll notice that I've already done the mass for the 3 blocks. You would write down the color as white, and then you write down 1, 2, and 3. And we have to measure the mass of the blocks by just putting them on the scale. And on the scale, which is a little bit blurry, you can't really see that, but the scale is reading, in this case, 45 grams for block number 1. So you'd write 45.0. And for block number 2, you'll see that the scale is reading 63.6 grams. And so I wrote that down right here. And then for block number 3, you'll see that the mass is 50.4, and you would just write that down right there. Okay, so that is the mass of the 3 blocks. The next thing that you have to do is measure the length, the width, and the height of all 3 blocks by using your reference table. So in class, they were measuring the length on the edge of the reference table, and they were measuring the width on the edge of the reference table, and then they had to measure the height of the block, which is this dimension from there to there. Okay, and so all 3 of those measurements would be multiplied together to give them length times width times height, and that gives them their volume in centimeters cubed. Okay, so I'm just going to give you a quick screenshot of all the volumes calculated right here. Okay, so once you have all of those numbers written down, you'd have to take the mass divided by the volume. That will give you your density. You're going to do that all 3 times and then get an average down below that you would write down there. Okay. On the next page, you'll see that they had to figure out what the block was made out of by comparing their density average compared to this table. So you just write down what you think it is. Down below, they had to do the same density calculation, but this time with something like granite. They had to get a piece of granite, which I gave them, and figure out the mass. They just put it on the scale. Okay, and let me zero that out before I do it. Put it on the scale, and in this case, I got 23.3 grams, okay, which I wrote down. And then they have to do this process called the water displacement method. So you put water into this cylinder, okay, and then you would fill it up and read what it says on here. And then you put the rock in, and there's a very specific way to put the rock in. Tilt it on its side and slide it down so it doesn't splash. Once the rock goes in, the water level will rise. It's called water displacement. Whatever it rose up to is going to be the volume of your rock. And so I'll give you a screenshot of this table of what it is filled in for the mass and the volume for both rocks. What you have to do is calculate the density. So mass divided by volume will give you your density, and that should be grams per cubic centimeter as well. And so I'll give you a screenshot of that right here. Okay, so finally, page 3, you have some questions to answer. These questions right here, just a quick heads up, just a slight error. These come from your workbook. This is 7 through 11 on page 38. So I just messed up the numbering there. You should be 7 through 11 on page 38 in your reference table workbook. If you don't have a workbook, you need to pick one up from CBA at some point. And if you don't, let me know. Email me, and I will make sure that you get one. And for now, I can always send you a copy of it, or I can send you a PDF version of the workbook to do this part of the lab. But you have to do all these questions to finish up this lab. If you have any questions about anything, let me know. Hope that all makes sense. All right, thanks.